The weight you have been carrying is about to end. But not the way you think. Not because you finally figured something out. Not because you finally learned the lesson the universe was teaching you. Something else. Something the cosmos has been quietly arranging on the other side of your patience while you were busy thinking nothing was happening. If you have been feeling, since around the middle of last month, that something inside you has been stuck, that the same conversations keep repeating, that the same projects keep stalling, that the same decisions keep refusing to land, you have not been failing. You have been held, deliberately, by a sky that has been doing precise work on you while you were not watching. So tonight I want to ask you something. And I want you to feel the answer before you intellectualize it. What does the cosmos open in this exact window? What is moving forward inside you right now that has been frozen for weeks? Perhaps for months? Perhaps for years? Not because you were broken, but because the appointment had not yet arrived. Because here is what almost no astrology teacher will tell you about Mercury stationing direct in Aries, including most of the ones who have built entire businesses around explaining retrogrades to you. Mercury direct is not a release. It is a signature. The signature on a contract that you, your soul, signed before you incarnated. And the months of stuckness you just lived through were not delay. They were preparation for what is now activated. If you have ever sat with a decision that you knew, deep down, you needed to make, and the making of it would not come. If you have ever caught yourself in the same exhausting cycle of nearly acting and not acting, where the action keeps approaching and the moment never arrives. If you have ever felt the strange humiliation of waiting for a clarity that everyone around you seems to have arrived at already, this video is for you. And it is going to ask something of you that no horoscope has dared to ask. In what follows, I am going to show you 3 things. First, what Mercury direct in Aries actually does to your nervous system, energetically and operationally, beginning the moment the planet stations forward. Not the generic forecast, the mechanism. Second, why the delay you have been carrying is not what you have been told it was, and what the Vedic tradition called the kind of time you have been living in. And third, the practice. The exact way you walk into this opening so that, by the next new moon, you are not the person who entered it. Not metaphorically, practically. But before any of that, there is something you need to understand about the version of you that has been waiting. She was not waiting. She was being assembled, piece by piece, while she thought she was doing nothing. So let me ask you the question this hour will answer. What if the months you thought you wasted were the months the cosmos was using to make you ready for something you had not yet earned the right to receive? Let me tell you what is actually happening to you right now. Because the surface forecast, Mercury is direct, communication improves, decisions become easier, is not wrong. It is just not the layer that matters. The layer that matters is what Mercury direct in Aries does to the part of you that has been holding still. Mercury in any chart governs the speed at which thought becomes word and word becomes action. When Mercury is retrograde, that circuit slows. Not because the planet is malfunctioning, because you are being asked to revise. To rewrite something that needed rewriting. To unsay something that needed unsaying. To delay an action that, taken too soon, would have miscarried. Retrograde is not punishment, it is the cosmos's editing function. But Aries is fire. Aries is the sign of the ram, the head first, the cardinal initiator. When Mercury stations direct in Aries, the editing is over. The thinking pivots from revision to launch. And the launch happens through your body, not through your mind. Which is why you are about to feel a sensation in the next several days that you may not have words for yet. A pressure in the chest, a heat in the hands, a sudden impatience with rooms that have been comfortable for years. So here is the central image I want you to hold for the rest of this hour. This cosmic event is your soul's scheduled appointment. Mercury stationing direct is not a release. It is the signature on the contract you signed before you incarnated. The first layer of this, what most teachers will tell you, accurately but incompletely, is that Mercury direct restores forward momentum. You can sign contracts again. Travel goes smoother. Conversations land. Devices stop glitching. All true. All also surface. The second layer, the one fewer teachers say, is that Mercury direct in Aries specifically does something that other Mercury stations do not do. Aries is ruled by Mars, which means Mercury, while stationed here, is operating in foreign territory. The messenger is wearing armor. In your nervous system, this lands as a particular sensation. Decisions that have been pending suddenly feel urgent, not anxious, imperative, as if the body itself has decided that the deliberation is over. The third layer, the one almost nobody says, is that Mercury direct in Aries activates karma that has been waiting in suspension. In Vedic astrology, there is a concept called prarabdha, the portion of your karma that is already in motion this lifetime, awaiting its scheduled release. Some of what you are about to do in the coming weeks is not new. It was already on the schedule. You just had not yet arrived at the date, which closes the first piece I promised you in the hook. What does the cosmos open in this exact window? Not opportunity in the generic sense. The activation of the next scheduled item on a contract you signed before this body was born. But here is where this gets uncomfortable. If the cosmos has been holding you in suspension on schedule, then everything you have been blaming yourself for during the months of stillness was not yours to blame yourself for. And the absolution you are about to receive is going to ask you to look at things you have been carrying that were never yours. So let me show you what was actually happening inside you. During the months you thought nothing was happening, there are conversations in your life that have been waiting to be had. You know which ones. You have approached them and walked away. You have written drafts and not sent them. You have rehearsed sentences in the shower and chosen, by the time you were dry, to wait. You were not avoiding them. You were waiting for the moment when saying them would not require force. That moment is now arriving. The thing about Mercury direct in Aries, particularly in this position, is that the words you have been carrying internally for weeks suddenly find their exit route through the body. Without your usual interference, without the editing, you will say the thing. And it will land, not because you finally summoned the courage, because the cosmic timing required for that sentence to land has finally arrived. But wait, there is something most teachers miss about this transit. They will tell you to expect productivity to return. No, what returns first is not productivity. What returns first is the body's verdict. During the weeks of stillness, your body was running an audit, quietly, without your conscious participation. It was reviewing every relationship you maintain, every commitment you carry, every standing arrangement that drains your nervous system on a Tuesday afternoon. And it was producing a verdict. Mercury direct in Aries is the day the verdict gets delivered. Through your nervous system, often before your mind has fully consented. Imagine a woman, 38 years old. She has spent the last 7 weeks feeling, every Sunday evening, a strange anticipatory dread about her week ahead. Nothing was wrong by any measurable standard. Her job was the same job. Her relationship was the same relationship. Her schedule was the same schedule. But her body was preparing a delivery. And the delivery date was the day Mercury stationed direct. By the end of that day, she had said 3 sentences out loud that she had been swallowing for years. She had ended a working arrangement. She had answered a question her mother had been asking her for a decade. And she had, without drama, without therapy, without journaling, set a boundary in a friendship that had been quietly costing her for half a decade. She did not feel powerful. She felt finished, as if a long task had completed itself through her. But wait, there is a second thing most teachers miss about this transit. And this is the one that closes the loop I opened earlier. You remember what I told you? The reason the months of stillness felt humiliating was that you mistook the holding pattern for failure. Here is why that matters. The voice in your head that has been telling you that you are behind, that you should have acted by now, that everyone else is moving while you remain still, is not your voice. It is the voice of the timeline you were born into, projected onto a soul that operates on a different schedule. Your timeline is not behind. Your timeline is sovereign. And what was being assembled in the dark these last weeks was something the public timeline could not have produced even if you had forced it. The delay was not the universe withholding from you. The delay was the universe waiting for you to be the person who could hold what was coming. But everything I just told you about this opening is only half the story. Because there is a second reason the cosmos arranged this exact window for you, and it has nothing to do with your nervous system. It has to do with the older calendar you were born into, the one your modern life has been trying to override for decades. But everything I just told you about this opening is only half the story. Because the reason this transit feels so significant, the reason your body is responding to it so precisely, is that you were born into a culture that abandoned the sky as a calendar somewhere around 400 years ago. And your soul has spent your entire life trying to live by a clock that does not match the one you were actually scheduled by. For most of human history, time was not measured. Time was felt. The Vedic astronomers, the Egyptian priests, the early Greek timekeepers, the Mesoamerican calendar keepers. They did not invent the clock to track productivity. They tracked the sky to recognize when the cosmos was actually doing something. When a window had opened, when a window was closing, when a particular kind of action would be honored by the moment, and when that same action would die in the cradle if attempted on the wrong day. We lost that. Not in a single century, over many centuries slowly. The mechanical clock arrived in the 14th century. The standardized work week arrived in the 19th. The 40-hour time-zoned calendar-driven life arrived in the 20th. And by the time you were born, the calendar you were handed had no relationship to the actual rhythm of your nervous system, your fertility, your creative cycles, your grief seasons, or the cosmic appointments that were waiting for you. You were given a schedule that mistook itself for time. This is why you have spent your life feeling, intermittently, that you were off. Not depressed in any clinical sense, not lost in any obvious way, just slightly out of sync, slightly behind your peers, even when you were ahead, slightly ahead of yourself, even when you had not started, as if you were always running on borrowed time and never on your own. What was happening in the months of holding before this Mercury station is that your body finally refused to keep operating on the wrong clock. The stillness you mistook for failure was your nervous system, exhausted by decades of forced synchronization, quietly returning to its actual rhythm, which is the rhythm of the sky you were born under, not the calendar you were sold. So this is where I want to give you the line that this video is going to be remembered for, because the entire reframe of these months pivots on it. The delay was not the universe withholding from you. The delay was the universe waiting for you to be the person who could hold what was coming. The cosmos has been making you ready, not making you wait. And here is the cost of seeing this clearly. When you start operating on the right clock, the one your body has just spent weeks recalibrating you toward, you will become illegible to people who are still operating on the wrong one. Some of those people are family, some are colleagues, some are inside your own marriage. You will not be able to explain to them why your timing has changed, because the language for the older calendar is the language you are about to relearn. But you have stayed with me this far, which means a part of you already knew, which means you are about to enter the part of this hour where the older calendar gets named, by a tradition that has been keeping it alive for 5,000 years. In the city of Varanasi, on the banks of the Ganges, there are men and women who have been doing one specific work for 5,000 years. They are called Jyotishis, astrologers, but the word itself means those of the light. And what they have preserved, while the West moved through the printing press and the Industrial Revolution, and in the Vedic tradition, time is not a measurement. Time is a substance, a living substance with texture, density, mood, and intent. The Sanskrit word for it is kala. And kala is not the same throughout the day, the month, or the year. Some hours are dense, viscous, resistant. Actions taken inside them stick, fail to land, or distort their meaning. Other hours are open, fluid, conductive. The same action taken inside them lands cleanly, completes itself, and produces consequences far beyond what the effort would suggest. The implication of this, and this is what your nervous system has been trying to teach you for the last several weeks, is that effort is not the only variable. When you act matters as much as how you act, possibly more. Because an action taken inside the wrong texture of kala can consume your entire life and produce nothing. An action taken inside the right texture can resolve in days what would have taken decades. Now, within kala, there is a specific concept I want you to hold in your body. It is called Muhurta. A Muhurta is a specific window, sometimes minutes long, sometimes hours, sometimes a span of several days, during which the cosmos opens a particular kind of texture designed for a particular kind of action. The Vedic tradition does not view this as superstition. It views it as physics. The same way a surgeon does not perform open heart surgery during a power outage, the soul does not attempt cosmic scale movement during an inauspicious texture of time. Mercury direct in Aries is a Muhurta, not in the small sense of a good day to sign a contract, in the larger sense. A window the cosmos has opened with surgical precision around your specific incarnation, for the specific kind of forward motion you incarnated to enact at this stage of your life. You have been waiting for this window, without knowing it had a name. There is a third Vedantic concept you need to understand before this hour ends. It is called prarabdha karma. In the Vedantic system, your karma is not one thing, it is layered. Sanchita is the total karma you have accumulated across all lifetimes. Agami is the karma you are creating right now with each choice you make. But prarabdha is the portion of your karma that is already in motion this lifetime, already scheduled for release, already sequenced for activation, already on the calendar of this incarnation before you took your first breath. This is the part the modern self-improvement industry will never tell you. Not all of what you do in this life is yours to choose. Some of what you do, particularly the cosmic scale movements, the relationship endings, the geographical shifts, the role completions, is prarabdha activating on schedule. You are not making the choice. You are arriving at the appointment. You did not lose those months to retrograde. You spent them being assembled. So now we come back to the question that opened this hour. What does the cosmos open in this exact window? You wanted a forecast. What you are receiving is an appointment notice. The signature of your prarabdha for this stage of this lifetime is being delivered to your nervous system right now. In the next moments of this video, I am going to show you exactly what to do with what is arriving in you. If you placed your hand on your chest at the end of the last block, then a sentence has already begun to rise. You may not have words for it yet, but it is in motion now. So here is the surface answer to the question that opened this hour. What does the cosmos open in this exact window? On the surface, the cosmos opens forward motion. The mental fog clears. The decisions land. The conversations finally happen. The actions you have been postponing finally execute themselves through your body, almost without your conscious effort. All true. All also surface. The deeper answer is this. What the cosmos opens in this exact window is not opportunity. What the cosmos opens is recognition. You have been carrying since long before this lifetime a specific assignment. An action, a creation, a relationship, a body of work, a reckoning. Something that was scheduled to be activated at a particular cosmic appointment. You did not choose the date. The date was set before you arrived. And the months of stillness you just lived through were the cosmos finishing the preparation of you, so that the appointment could be kept by the version of you who could keep it, without breaking. This is why the holding pattern was so precise, why it ended exactly when it ended, why nothing you tried to force during it would land. Because you were not the one running the schedule, you were being run by it. And the system that runs it is older than your thinking, older than your culture, older than the calendar you keep on your phone. Now here is what almost no teacher will tell you. You were never late. You were exactly on time. You always were. The voice that has told you your whole life that you are behind, that you should have done this by 25, finished that by 30, arrived at the next thing by 38, is not a true voice. It is the voice of the wrong calendar, the schedule of a culture that lost its connection to actual time and replaced it with a metric. You have been measuring yourself against a clock that was never the one you were scheduled by. The cosmos does not measure you in years. The cosmos measures you in readiness. And readiness arrives at its own scheduled hour, regardless of what the calendar on the wall is saying. You were not behind. You were in preparation. And the preparation was the work. So here is the line. You were never running late. The cosmos was making you on time. This cosmic event is your soul's scheduled appointment. Mercury stationing direct in Aries is not a release. It is the signature on the contract you signed before you incarnated. And tonight, the signature is being delivered through your body, in real time, on the exact date that was always written on the calendar of the version of you that did not yet have to forget. You did not waste the months of stillness. You did not fail the test. You did not fall behind. You were being assembled by a calendar older than your fear. And tonight, the assembly is complete. What comes next is the part you were always going to live. Now I am going to show you what to do tomorrow morning, and the morning after, and the morning after that. Because keeping the appointment is not a moment. It is a practice. And without the practice, the older calendar will be overwritten by the noise of the wrong one before sundown. If you have stayed with me until this point, I want you to hear something before I give you the practice. What you just felt is rare. The fact that you stayed through everything that named what you have been participating in for years. That is not common. That is the appointment recognized. If this channel has spoken to a part of you that nothing else has been able to reach, subscribe and walk this path with me. Not because I am asking, because the calendar is. And let the next dispatch find you on its scheduled hour. Now, back to the work that matters. Because what comes next is the part most people skip. And it is the part that actually keeps the appointment from being overwritten. First, tomorrow morning before you check your phone, you will sit by a window for 60 seconds and look at the sky. Not to interpret, not to forecast, to remember. You will simply observe what the sky looks like at this exact hour, in this exact season, and let your nervous system register that the day is being held inside something larger than your calendar. Within 10 days, you will begin to feel a subtle shift in your relationship to time. Not slower, more accurate. Second, in the next 30 days, you are going to identify 3 decisions you have been postponing. Not all decisions, 3. You will write each one on a separate slip of paper. You will not act on them yet. You will keep the slips in a small dish on your altar, your desk, your nightstand, somewhere visible. And once a day, you will glance at the dish and ask the slips one question. Which of you is closest to your scheduled hour? Within 21 days, one of the slips will feel different to your hand than the others. That one is ready. Act on that one. Leave the others for their own hour. Third, once a day for the next 40 days, you will pause whatever you are doing, place one hand on your sternum, and ask the body a single question. Is the action I am about to take actually scheduled, or am I forcing it? You will not journal the answer. You will not analyze it. You will only listen. Because the body of someone who has just recalibrated to the older calendar will begin telling you the difference between scheduled action and forced action, and the difference is felt, not thought. One arrives clean, the other arrives with friction. Trust the friction. Fourth, in the next 90 days, at least once, You will deliberately not act on something the world is pressuring you to act on. You will not refuse out of fear. You will refuse out of timing. You will say, internally, the Muhurta has not arrived for this yet. And then you will sit with the discomfort of letting the moment pass. Because the part of you that has been forcing action for decades needs to learn that letting a moment pass is not failure. It is calibration. The right window will arrive. Your job is to be the person who recognizes it. Fifth, and this one is the most powerful, so I am giving it to you last. Once a month for the next 12 months, you will write a single page to the version of yourself who, at this exact moment in this exact lifetime, is keeping the scheduled appointment. You will write 3 sentences. Here is what I am no longer running late for. Here is what I no longer believe I missed. Here is what I now trust the cosmos to deliver on its scheduled hour. Fold the letter. Keep it. Do not show it. Because the practice is the conversation between the soul and its own timing, without intermediary. These 5 practices together are not self-improvement. They are the keeping of the appointment. Done daily across the next moon cycle, you will not recognize the version of yourself that arrives at the other side. But the calendar will, because that version was always the one who was scheduled to arrive. We have been together for some time now. Something shifted in you in the time we spent together. You may not name it yet. You do not have to. The part of you that needed the naming, she was already named, somewhere underneath the moment you pressed play. All this conversation did was bring the recognition up to where you could feel it. You did not learn anything tonight. You remembered. You remembered the older calendar. You remembered the appointment. You remembered why the months of stillness were not failure. And the cosmos, who has been keeping the schedule on your behalf, just received your acknowledgement. If this reached you, if any part of this conversation found a place inside you that nothing else has been able to find, there are 5 souls in your life right now who have been mistaking their own holding pattern for failure. Send this to them. Not because I am asking, because the appointment is. The right ones will recognize themselves in this, the way you did. And before you go, tell me below, what was the first thing your body knew was finished the moment Mercury stationed direct? No reasoning. Just naming. Because what we name in public, we no longer carry as private confusion. And which question do you want me to take next? Because I read every soul who shows up. There is one more thing the older calendar reveals about you, though. Something I did not have time to name in this conversation. Because the Muhurta you just walked through is part of a larger sequence. A cycle the Vedic tradition tracked across decades, not weeks. And until you understand the larger cycle your individual life is currently inside of, you will keep mistaking each Muhurta for an isolated event. When in fact, every Muhurta you keep is preparation for a much larger appointment further down the schedule. That is what I will show you next. Until the cosmos calls you back to me, stay in alignment, stay in awe.